All right. Welcome everybody to the Score Speaker Series. I'm so pumped to have you, Theresa Notartomaso, who is the executive music producer for North America at VML. Just a longtime collaborator and friend. Thank you so much for joining us. This is awesome.
Oh, thank you for having me. This is such an amazing opportunity to speak with you this afternoon.
Well, I'd like to just start with give us a brief background, just sort of on your career and what led you to the current role. Because I know even since I started the company in 2010, you've been at so many incredible places. So maybe just touch on some of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I actually wound up in this intersection of music and advertising by accident. When I was a young girl, I wanted to be Madonna and I wanted to write songs and I wanted to go the artist track. That came later. But what happened was I came to the big city here in New York to go to school at Marymount Manhattan College and started in the exploring different internships at record labels and management companies. And I kind of fell into working at a management company for Sheryl Crow. And from there, like, it's kind of funny. And I think that a lot of young people, just to kind of give you a glimpse, like, sometimes it's kind of like where you are is where you're supposed to be. Because I was working this 3 day a week part time gig with Sheryl Crow's management company. And from there, I met somebody who was looking for an assistant. And then that woman, Joanne Schwartz, holler at her, she got a call from J. Walter Thompson that they were going to be starting an entertainment division. So here I was trying to like kind of go artist track, music track, and then suddenly I splintered off into advertising and I had no idea advertising, huh? And I just kind of began on this kind of curvy path into advertising. From the entertainment department, I went into production and then music production. And I worked at JWT for 5 years. Really started my career there and went to school there.
Yeah.
Yeah, from there, I went to an audio post company called Headroom, where I was also leading music production. It was a great 2 years there, but I really missed agency life, and I got an opportunity to work at Kaplan Thaler, which is was a fantastic ad agency led by the legendary Linda Kaplan Thaler. And we worked on a lot of amazing musical projects, and then we merged with Publicis, and I had an opportunity to work with Publicis. So my career has been at a lot of various advertising agencies. I had a stint at Havas, and then I landed at my home here with Y&R, and then we merged with VML for VML Y&R, and now here we are as VML. And it kind of comes full circle because we recently merged with Wunderman Thompson, and Wunderman Thompson is also JWT. So I just feel like, whoa, here we go, full circle in 20 years.
Well, it seems like there's been so much consolidation
Yeah.
in this industry. I mean, how has that impacted your team?
Well, funny because this isn't my first merger. I did experience this with Publicis, and I say, my team, we're very, very lucky because we get an opportunity to work with so many different offices across our VML network. And I really enjoy that. It's awesome that I could have a creative director in Kansas City, account management group in Seattle, a producer based in Atlanta. It's just so awesome how diverse we are, that we are able to work so remotely and so successfully. And I do credit, COVID sucked, yes, but like I do credit COVID because it kind of threw us into, this is the way it's going to be, and this is how we're going to have to work a little bit more remotely and be a little bit more flexible. And I think that has paid off. So even though we might be coming together from different places around North America, we are coming together as one. And, most projects need music. So it's been awesome for my team because we have an opportunity to work with so many different people and bring different musical solutions to creative projects.
Now, do you have the largest music team in advertising right now?
I mean, I don't like to count numbers. It's not a competition, Jordan. but I think we have a nice large team here.
It's not in the
I don't
competition,
know the
but it's
stats.
exciting because there's been a lot of companies that don't lean into growing their music department. And I think it's amazing when there's so many people that are very busy and, you're leading this charge. I just want to say congrats on that because I think
Thank
it's a
you.
real feat in this environment.
We are very busy, but I do have to give a credit to our leaders here at the ML and, to understand the value of music production and bringing in specialized roles that can come in and work closely with our teams. So, again, I found my tribe and I'm really happy to be here in this network. It's very, very, very rewarding.
So awesome. Can you just highlight a few of the clients? I know there are many, but just for the people
Oh yeah.
tuning in that don't know.
Putting me on the spot. This always happens. Wendy's, Coca-Cola, Mazda, Abbott. I'm going through my roster in my head. Genentech. Oh my gosh, Jordan,
I mean, that's
I'm
great.
forgetting
No,
everyone.
that I
Yeah,
mean,
there's so
honestly, that
many.
gives a good sample of those tiny little startups that you work with.
Oh, well,
Um,
tiny little startups. Coca-Cola, I
no,
mean,
I'm
Wendy's. Oh,
joking.
you were making a joke.
Yeah, just like Fortune like 5 companies. So,
Just a couple.
what's your favorite part of the job at this point?
It depends on the day and it depends on the project. I really enjoy working with other people and bringing a fresh perspective to a project. You're collaborating with people and seeing a different side of things. I really take value in learning every day. I think that it's important for me to grow, even though I've been doing this for 20 years. I do think it's important to continue to grow and learn. So that's one of my favorite things is kind of like, trying to think differently when I come to a project. Um, I I love writing a song, working with a music company or songwriters and producers to either write a song or to cover a song. That's always really fun for me. But I also love the hard projects that are really, really hard to nail down. Like I love a project where sometimes we don't know what we're doing and we've got to do it in 2 days and I've got to be up like for 24 hours figuring this out with the team. And I love that camaraderie. So I think I gave you 5 answers, but I'm really fortunate. I really love what I do.
One of the biggest misconceptions is that creating a sonic identity for a brand is super easy because it's so short. And I know that that can be like some of the most challenging work, and you've done a lot of it. Like, can you speak a little bit on that process?
Sure. I mean, I'm actually in the midst of a sonic branding exercise that's kind of been put on hold. Can't talk about client or anything, but just to kind of showcase, like, you know, these like 3 to 7 notes are potentially going to live with a client forever, right? You look at some of the most successful mnemonics, and I mean, they may go through various incarnations and arrangements, but they do stick with a brand forever. So that investment in that piece of music, that sonic ID, does take time. And also, what does it sound like? Who are we as a company? And I think that a lot of times we run into these things where we're like, oh, let's just get a bunch of people and they'll do demos for us. But it's so important to understand where the brand, where is the brand right now in 2024?
Yes.
Where is the brand going? Where has the brand been? What did the brand sound like? What did the competitors sound like? How can we stand apart? There's all these questions, and we kind of have to do a deep dive analysis into what we really do need to create. We're not just going to come up with something like, hey, that sounds cool. And yes, that does happen. But for some of the bigger clients, and there's a lot of people who have said we have different tiers of creative involvement. We have client involvement. Again, when we're getting into sonic branding and something of that level, you're involving huge people, at the client side. And then there's usually testing, and we have to go and see what the general market is thinking. So, and there's a lot that goes into it. So unfortunately, it's not it is sometimes it does take months, and sometimes it takes years.
I don't think it's understated how much of a miracle it is for a song or a sonic branding piece to get approved. I mean, through all the levels that it needs to, it is a true miracle.
It is a miracle. But again, at the end, when you're doing all that work, right, you're putting so much into it. And then at the end, something finally gets approved. There is like, and I say this to our team, my team all the time. Like, I'm like, pat on the back. Like we are putting our blood, sweat, and tears in something. And when something like ships out the door, you're like, yes, it's out there. It's in the world. It happened. Paperwork time. Moving on to the next.
How do you decide who to go to for what when it comes to you get a new project and there's a new brief and now it's time to pick a partner?
A lot of times, we have to look at a lot of different things when we are involving various partners. We do have to look at the creative direction. What does this call for? What kind of music? What is our budget? What's the investment here? What kind of partner can we go to for this? And then when we kind of have an idea of that, it's really important, I believe, to make sure that we are working with as many different companies as possible on all of our different projects. I really, really advocate for sharing show reels with our various creative teams so that everyone feels comfortable about who we are collaborating with. And if we want to give other folks a shot that maybe we haven't worked with before. Sometimes there's smaller projects where we're just kind of calling in some independent composers or some, more library-esque type of companies on things. And sometimes they're bigger projects as well. Sometimes we are involving other folks in on a lot of different things because you just never know where you're going to like find that needle in a haystack sometimes. But I
Yeah.
do think that it's really important. It's a collaborative effort and decision on who we work with for a lot of projects. I want to make sure everyone feels confident with the partners that we're bringing to the table.
From your perspective, what are the biggest challenges a composer could face in trying to create music for ads right now?
I mean, I think it's a subjective question too, because I do think that, as a composer, and again, I'm not a composer, I'm a producer and I kind of work with composers or I work with producers who are working with composers. So but from my POV is that sometimes, that game of telephone could potentially, not be helpful if you're not getting the clear direction, right? Or you're kind of, maybe not understanding the brief fully. And that could be hard. But I also, I guess that there is a lot of different folks out there right now. I'm sure that the competition is tough, but I think that it really, hopefully, going into it with your heart and going into it knowing you're going to give the best job that you can do given the brief that you're given. I'm sure that always shines through to me versus a composer sending in a library track that doesn't score to the cut. Like I think that is something that always, we can hear it. we know.
You mentioned you're not a composer, but you are an artist. And how has being an artist changed your relationship with the musicians and composers that you work with?
That's a great question, Jordan, because I found my artistry. I refound my artistry about 5.5 years ago, and I started working on my own original music for, just public consumption. I'm a big pop girl. I actually can put like that, like little creator cap on and be like, okay, from this angle, that's why I'm so like, I want to make sure that whomever is collaborating on something with us, like they're putting their heart into it and they're not just coming out of the place being like, this is for a commercial. Yes, we're working in branded content. Yes, this is highlighting a product. Yes, but at the core of it, especially when we are working on more songs or, you know, a lot of times we get that we don't want it to sound like it's for advertising, or we don't want it to sound like it's for, you know, a commercial. We want it to feel like it's for a film. We want it to feel like it's on, you know, on New Music Friday. Like people want to feel the genuineness of it. So I think that, you know, kind of coming in at as it being like, okay, again, I can smell it a while away if I know somebody is trying to kind of hop on a trend, or, oh, they might have been referencing something else in this direction and I can hear it within their music. So I think that, you know, it's been helpful because I think I have a little bit more of like, okay, I get it, like on certain things, but I never want to be like, well, I'm an artist too. You know, when I am here and I am working on my executive music producer role, I really try to take Theresa the artist and kind of like, she's here, but she's not here. Like right now, I'm Theresa Notartomaso, executive music producer, and this is what I'm doing today. And I've got this little chick on my shoulder who's like, you know, ah!
Well,
But I
there's
really try to focus
compassion
in
and
on what
there's
I'm doing.
empathy because
Yeah,
you go
yeah.
through it in a different way from a different lens in that world for you.
Yeah, yeah. And then I am inspired by my day job and other musicians and other artists when I'm working on that side of things too. Like I can see the success of what other composers, musicians, and artists are doing in this space, and that has actually been really cool too. Because again, we're all different. We're all going through our different paths, but it's also nice to see it through that lens as well, vice versa.
You just mentioned something really interesting about sort of when you can hear somebody trying to sound like a trend. And I'm curious if you could unpack how to strike originality while also following what people want.
Yeah, well, I think that there's a line, and it's a trend and a genre and, you know, a feeling of music versus ripping somebody off. And I think that we have to be very it, we have to be very prescriptive in our delivery of what the creative team, and a lot of times most times we're actually on a phone call with the creative team to discuss the direction. And then, you know, what the client and creative team want, but to also make sure that it's coming across in an original way, that we are going to receive some really great new pieces of music that might have been inspired by a genre, might have been inspired by a new trend of, you know, reverb, an echo on a vocal. You know, I think that, you know, there are spins we can do. And I'm very, very careful with that delivery of that direction. Um, because I do think that yes, we want our brands when the direction calls for it to sound contemporary and modern and fresh, but at the same time we're not sitting here that's not the point. Is to, if we can't license something, we need to think about a different way in to achieve that creative direction.
A question that came in from one of the people tuning in was, who is your biggest inspiration?
Can you say that again, Jordan? I'm
Yeah.
sorry, you were breaking up just a little bit.
Oh, it's okay. Sorry about that. We have a little bit of internet technical difficulties today. Who is your biggest inspiration?
Well, I mean, as an artist, it's Madonna. But you know, in my role, I kind of I look to a lot of like my team lead. I honestly like we have an amazing head of business affairs here at VML and VML. Stacey Callan, who I definitely do look up to. She's an amazing powerhouse and she's awesome. And I go to her with every little thing, like just to make sure I'm dotting the I's and crossing my T's. Um, you know, I think that there's a lot of strong women that I've had an opportunity to work with over the years. Lisa Bufuco, who was my head of production at Kaplan Thaler and then publicist Kaplan Thaler. I think that growing up, and I'm probably take the question into a little bit different direction,
Yeah, no,
but
I like
for
it. Keep
inspiration,
going.
you know, yeah, but like for inspiration, when I was growing up in the industry, when I first started, there weren't that many women who were kind of leading departments and, being very straightforward. I felt like, over even the last 20 years, I've seen more and more women leading departments and leading roles and becoming more vocal. And it's been so amazing to see. So I've gravitated towards, those types of amazing people to kind of like look to and be like, that's, how I want to conduct myself. I want to be professional, but I want to be kind. I want to have an amazing team, and I want everyone to lift each other up and support one another. So, I've also learned, how I don't want to conduct myself, and how I see some people, like back in the day, even when I was an intern, how people were treated. Like, I think that every day we're all human beings. So, I think that, that inspires me every day, just to be a really, at first, a very talented at what I do, but also a really good person who really values an amazing team and coworkers and creatives and partners. I want us to all work in harmony.
That's amazing. I mean, those are some incredible like reflections on a 20-year career to see that much like momentum and so much more leadership and diversity in the whole industry as a whole. Okay, I want to try something that we've never done on this speaker series, but I'm really excited because you're like the perfect personality for it.
Okay.
So I just want you to like answer these questions a little bit more like rapid fire style.
Okay.
When you hear a song for the first time, do you listen for lyrics or melody?
Melody.
Would you rather listen to your least favorite genre for 24 hours or never listen to your favorite genre for 6 months?
24 hours on my least favorite genre.
Nice. It's like a stomach flu versus like a long-term
Yeah,
illness.
yeah, yeah.
Um, AIF or Wave?
Wave.
Really?
Yes,
No
always.
metadata.
Wave.
Wow, that's a shocking answer.
I put my,
Um,
well, keep going. Spitfire, Spitfire.
okay, sorry. I had to interject my subjectivity. Disco or source audio?
Disco.
Zoom, Meets, or Teams?
Zoom.
I'll add a fourth one, phone call.
Phone call all day, all day, all day, all night, all day. Phone call.
Pro Tools or Logic?
Pass.
Okay. Custom score or big commercial song license?
Depends on the creative.
Okay,
Can't
but
answer.
uh,
They have a place in my heart. I can't pick my children.
okay. Acoustic or electronic?
Electronic.
Stones or Beatles?
Beatles.
What's your desert island album?
Duran Duran Rio.
Wow, I'm impressed how fast you answered.
I
That's all I
actually thought
have. I
about
wish I
that.
had more. They're too fast.
Stones or Beatles?
For me,
Yeah.
Beatles probably, but it's tough. I don't know.
A bit.
Today Beatles because I'm listening to more Beatles with my kids, but there's definitely an era of Stones over Beatles.
Well, there was good as they approach their teenage years, those rebellious years. They're going to move into the Stones.
Exactly. There's a time for that, you know.
Yes.
But okay, so we only have a few more minutes here because I'm respectful of your time, but we kind of like talked about it, but what's a piece of advice that you would just give composers trying to enter into this? Like imagine they didn't have the 20-year perspective that you did,
Mm-hmm.
but they could learn from your 20 years of experience. Um, how would you enter this as a composer with everything you know and what it takes to really make it as somebody that writes music for ads and makes a great living? Like, how would you go about that?
I think that I would open it up not only to the composers, but also producers and supervisors and all
Yes,
young
everybody. Sorry,
people
everybody
trying
collectively.
to get, yeah,
Yeah.
because I really believe with leading with your heart and being the person and surrounding yourself with good people who make you feel good. And there is going to be a time when you're going to run into people that you thought you knew them and they show you a side of themselves that you did not realize was there. And that's okay. You just like kind of take a right or a left turn and you move yourself on. And then you find again the other people who make you feel great. And you surround yourself with really good people and you hone in on your talents and you try to believe in yourself. And that's hard and you're going to work on it, but you're going to make great friends and you want to be in good situations that you feel good about. If something's not making you feel good, then it's probably time to figure out your next move. So I think it's really important to also network and meet people in person and pick up the phone, as we were just talking about in the speed fire round, like pick up the phone and make the relationships, because those relationships, those are going to grow. And then, maybe it's a small deal you're doing, but then you're going to be doing bigger deals and bigger deals. And hopefully these people that you were kind of here with are going to also start to grow, and you will have those like really cemented relationships that it's all going to be great because you're working together with some partners that you've known for a long time. And also one other thing, and it's hard because time is so limited, but I really do recommend like reaching out to people. If you kind of admire someone or you need some guidance on stuff, reach out. There's no sense of not reaching out. Hey, sometimes I can't get back to everyone, but I do try to speak with up and coming composers or composers who have been working in film and TV who are now trying to get a little bit more into the ad space, or artists, various labels, publishers, music companies. I think that, just opening up your world to different folks who maybe not everyone knows. There may not be the, name on every tip of everyone's tongue. I think that's really great just to kind of like familiarize yourself with folks, and help them potentially grow. And in turn, maybe folks are helping you potentially grow.
It reminds me of the great Sheryl Crow. Every day is a winding road.
Wow. Again, full circle, Jordan, full circle.
But it's true. You just don't know which path is going to lead you to where you want to go. But I think the composers I've seen or the musicians I've seen with the most success are just so goal oriented, and they know what it is that they want to do, and they're going to do what it takes to get there. And relationships are so important, especially in what we do too. It's just about the
hundred
people
percent.
you surround yourself and how you present yourself, and the people that like you will introduce you to someone else that might like you, and it just expands and expands.
Yeah, it really does. And we're so lucky. I love having one foot in advertising and one foot in music. It's really been a really amazing ride to kind of have, oh, I've got these creatives here and I have
Yeah.
these like composers and producers here and I bring everyone together. I love
Yes.
connecting dots. So that's just been, it's the perfect role for that.
Amazing. Well, Theresa, thank you so much. This was just so fun. And,
Thank
I
you.
always love your energy, and you really just are an inspiration for so many. And we appreciate
Thank
you
you.
joining us today.
Thank you so much, Jordan. It's been a pleasure.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.